Hey all, it's WebCamParrot here, with a new video on what I think are some of DC's most impressive speed feats. I have with me a list here of what I think are the most outstanding speed feats ever performed in DC history. I'll be going over each of them from slowest to fastest from a wide array of different characters. I tried specifically to pick feats that I thought were the most interesting, and I tried to limit how many Superman or Flash feats I included, because otherwise we would just be talking about those two characters the entire time. They will also be taken from a wide array of different speed tiers, and I'm going to be using some potentially unclear terms occasionally, like inaccessible speed, immeasurable speed, and irrelevant speed. For an explanation of each of these speed tiers, check out my friend Surfbone's video on speed tiering, which I will link in the description, that I think covers these above infinite speed categories well. Also, I want to make it clear that this is just a showcase of the best speed feats I could find, and not some sort of display of consistency. A lot of the speed feats are absolutely insanely fast and might be difficult for some people to palate otherwise. Also, it is worth noting that in-universe, the speed of light in DC is way beyond what we would consider the speed of light in real life. Going faster than the speed of light will take you to realms completely transcendent of space and time altogether, like Apocalypse, which is something that I've talked about already in my DC Multiverse video. In this video I'll be using the real life value for the speed of light, but just bear in mind that when a character says something like, "and I wasn't even going faster than the speed of light," when they clearly are, this is why. The first of the feats I want to cover today is a feat performed by New 52 Superman. In this feat, we see him cross from the edge of the universe to the Earth in only 60 days. Now, even normally, this feat would be insanely fast, easily billions of times the speed of light. But the DC universe is much larger than the universe that we experience in our world. In one case, it was possible to travel 100 trillion light years away from the Earth, which on its own is thousands of times larger than our observable universe. This means that Superman travelled this far, if not further, in only 60 days, giving us a huge 608 trillion times the speed of light. That's a 6 followed by 14 zeros. And this is the slowest speed feat I'm going to be covering in this video. In a similar feat, Guy Gardner was able to travel this distance in only 10 hours, even at a casual cruising speed, giving us an enormous 87 quadrillion times the speed of light, or an 8 followed by 16 zeros. And believe me when I say that both of these feats are slow as hell in comparison to the other feats that I have. Wally West was able to keep up with the Big Bang back at the earliest periods in creation, which in DC are explicitly said to move at 60 trillion light years per second, or 1.86 sextillion times the speed of light. That's a 1 followed by 21 zeros, which is a lot faster than our Big Bang expanded. And in another feat performed by Wally West in Post-Crisis, he would save 532,000 people in 0.00001 microseconds, literally right in the middle of a currently exploding nuclear device. He would take each of them 35 miles away from the blast zone. Sometimes he carries 1 and sometimes 2 people. Assuming an average of 1.5 per trip gives us an insane 4 sextillion times the speed of light, which yes, is somehow even faster than his previous feat of outrunning the Big Bang. In a speed feat I have previously talked about, the Wonder Woman Shattered God feat, we see the being known as the Shattered God launch trillions of attacks at Wonder Woman. These attacks crossed from the edge of the universe over to Wonder Woman in an incredibly small frame of time. We'll go with 1 second here, although to be honest, even if you said it was 10 seconds or 100 seconds, these distances are so vast that it barely changes anything. and in order to block these attacks, which she does, she blocks every single one, she surely must be relative, at least in speed, to them. Previously, I actually downplayed this feat to only a few quintillion times the speed of light by assuming that it was only one attack. Bear in mind that there are trillions of attacks here, crossing the entire universe in moments, giving us a staggering 6.3 decillion times the speed of light. That's a 6 followed by 33 zeros. But oh no, we are not done yet. In none other than Golden Age Captain Marvel, or Shazam if you prefer, we are shown a place known as the Magnaverse. This realm is essentially a super large universe that exists above the regular universe and is said to be 1.5 pentadecillion times larger than the normal one, or a 1 followed by 45 zeros. In this realm, Captain Marvel is said to use the exact same lightning to transform that he always uses when he says Shazam. And this is despite them being in a world that is so much larger than the normal world. A typical lightning bolt, which I think is generous considering that the Shazam lightning bolt is likely a lot faster than a normal lightning bolt, travels at around Mach 1294, or 443,842 meters per second, give or take, which means that this lightning bolt would have to travel at a whopping 62 decillion times the speed of light, or a 6 followed by 34 zeros. Captain Marvel regularly uses this in combat, and other people have reacted to this before, so he should scale to it, which is an absolutely insane level of speed for a comic line that came out during the 1940s. But even faster than this, in the Silver Age, Green Lantern Hal Jordan was able to send out 4 probes that scanned the entire universe in a heartbeat. The typical human heart rate is about 60 beats per minute. Assuming that these probes have the typical max visibility of a human, and that they should be able to see about 20 kilometers reliably, and we find that these probes had to travel at 9.41 trevigintillion times the speed of light, or a 9 and 72 zeros, which is going to be the fastest finite speed feat that we will cover here. Now, I've been a little bit unfair with some of these feats, as the universe in DC is repeatedly stated to be infinite in size, something that I covered in my DC cosmology video. So the Wonder Woman feat, New 52 Superman feat, Guy Gardner feat, and Big Bang feat, as well as the most recent one, are all actually infinite speed feats. But if I had explained them like that from the beginning, we would have missed out on all the fun of the big numbers behind them. In a recent comic, the Negative Spirit from the Doom Patrol, the first of many Doom Patrol speed feats in this video, was able to fold himself up infinitely, and then doing this, what seems like the millionth time, traverses towards zero and the negative zone, a place beyond the physical and beyond existing. Next up are the Immeasurable speed feats, a speed so fast that you are literally able to run through time thanks to your sheer speed alone, and with it comes the incredibly famous outrunning teleportation feat performed by post-crisis Wally West yet again. A lot of people have done various calculations for this, saying that he was able to tune every single radio on the Earth to the nearest zeptosecond to perform this feat, which is around 500 septillion times the speed of light, or a 5 and 26 zeros. But this is a supreme lowball, as in the actual comic, Wally was able to build up so much speed from the people on Earth that he reached something known as trans-time velocity, and literally ran directly into the 4th dimension, the time stream, to achieve it, outrunning ultra-dimensional cosmic gamblers in the process and beating instant teleportation by arriving before he had even left. In yet another Wally West speed feat, we see him run from post-Crisis all the way back to Crisis on Infinite Earths, where he literally participates, helping both a past version of himself and several other heroes defeat Anti-Monitor, which is clearly immeasurable speed without a doubt. During the Silver Age, a famous speed feat called Breaking the Bonds of Infinity was performed by Superman. Here, Superman would fly faster than he has ever flown before, surpassing the speed of light, pushing through the fragile barriers of time and space like tissue, eventually breaking through the very bonds of infinity themselves. However, he is ultimately stopped by the Spectre and even the Presence, who both tell him that if he had kept going, he would have entered into the afterlife, the realm of heaven, a place in the Godsphere beyond time and space, something that we would call irrelevant speed. And in fact, any feat from here on will be technically labelled as irrelevant speed. Next up is a recent comic with Hal Jordan, where he is shown attempting to catch up to the speedster of the New Gods, Light Ray. Despite several warnings from his Green Lantern ring that the speed exceed limits of construct integrity, and that he was going to enter a Speed Force singularity from going so fast, he still presses on, screaming that this just sounds like a dare. We see Light Ray claim that he is the fastest New God and that no one else could outrun the Omega Beams like he is, only for Hal Jordan to catch up to him anyway. Wonder Woman, using a special portal that increases your speed 100-fold, was able to catch up to Jessie Quick despite her running directly into the Speed Force, even managing to get her lasso around Jessie to stop her. Considering Hal Jordan didn't enter the Speed Force during his speed feat, this one should be faster than that one. Post-Crisis Dr. Fate's helmet, of all things, after being thrown from the Rock of Eternity by Captain Marvel, is accelerated by its own latent magical energies, traversing through other dimensions into realms of dialectical space and meta-time, touring the spectacle of creation. It would reach the edge of existence, bouncing back and hitting Detective Chimp squarely in the head. Bobo would briefly become Dr. Fate, quickly kicking away the helmet again after he realised that his unique detective ability to spot certain minutiae was being foiled by the helmet's tendency to lay bare all of existence at once. Wally would again show us what he's made of against the Black Flash, an embodiment of death that comes to all speedsters. It had caught up with Barry, Johnny Quick, and even Savitar already, because no matter how fast you are, the Black Flash is always faster. Incredibly early into the race, Wally and the Black Racer both achieve trans-time velocity easily, leaving the 20th century. As they raced through millions and millions of years of history, the Black Flash starts to gradually gain ground on Wally, and it seems as if he's going to be caught by death just like all the speedsters before him. But then, time literally runs out, as Wally runs beyond the concept of death itself, and the Black Racer shrivels up and ceases to exist. Wally then runs up to the start of the new universe, and we actually see the Big Bang feat that he performed earlier. Next up is a speed feat that I have discussed before, a feat that I am actually guilty of misrepresenting, although maybe not in the way that you are thinking. That being the Reality Blitzing Missiles feat. In the past, I have scaled this feat to finite speeds, which I stand by as a legitimate calculation, but it is way beyond any finite speed feats for several reasons. Firstly, these Reality Blitzing missiles were fired at all of the universes, of which we are repeatedly told they are infinite. Secondly, these missiles are designed to sterilize entire space-time continuums and have to fly to them from outside time, again beyond finite speeds. But even more incredibly, every single one of these missiles travels from comic book limbo all the way through the Bleed and the Godsphere to even get to the universes in the first place, and we clearly see Superman and the others keep up with them. I find it funny that people were mad that the massive lowball that I gave the speed feat previously was too fast for them. Some have tried to argue that during the event in which this speed feat takes place, time is stopped, which is somewhat true thanks to Zilovala's chronoparalyzer. But this is a pretty big mischaracterization of the actual text. If we read what Zilovala actually says about the chronoparalyzer, she says that it will freeze time here in universe designate 0. As it thaws, her heart will only beat once without your aid, then stop. And Mandrak clearly points out later in the comic that this effect has run out, which is the only reason he would ever make this statement in the first place. They've also tried to say that time works differently in some of these realms, which is true, but again, they clearly fly through the bleed back to the regular universe to perform the feat anyway. Also, apparently Captain Marvel and Uberman helping Superman negates this feat, even though I only used one universe in the original calc, and you have to acknowledge that there are at least 51 universes being targeted here, even if you reject that there are possibly many infinities of universes. But yeah, the real extent of this feat is far beyond any of this anyway. I mean, it's more impressive than straight up flying to Apocalypse, which is an archetypal realm beyond all of time and space. In one of the most hilarious speed feats on this list, pre-Crisis Superman straight up punches Sinestro all the way to the antimatter universe. He just gets hit and flies away like Team Rocket. It's pretty great. I suppose that Sinestro is technically performing this speed feat, considering he's the one who got punched, but it obviously applies to Superman. In Action Comics 1000, we see Vandal Savage use a machine to throw Superman into hypertime. Hypertime, much like it sounds, is a scope of time beyond the regular, and includes various other timelines like the Flashpoint Paradox, and in some iterations, Kingdom Come. Despite being thrown to such remote destinations, not just from his standard timeline, but remote from all timelines, Superman was still able to fly back out of the hypertime abstraction to take down Vandal Savage. It's important to remember that even gods like Orion and Darkseid are subject to hypertime, and I would be incredibly impressed if either of them did this, let alone a mortal like Superman. A similar feat was performed by Zoom, Barry Allen, and Wally West, who were able to run into, through, and back out of a dying hypertime. Although it is worth noting that Zoom was amped well beyond his normal capacities at this time, and the source wall had recently been destroyed, which might be the only thing that made this possible at all. Way back in the Silver Age, Barry Allen was able to incredibly pass beyond the source wall and run directly into the source, something that numerous other gods before had tried to do and failed. Unfortunately, we never get to see what this actually looks like because Barry's mind was completely incapable of understanding anything he saw there, and so he had no memories of the trip. In a similar situation during post-Crisis, Superman would find himself trapped inside the source with Highfather, thanks to the efforts of Desaad and Highfather's staff. Isaiah tells Superman that there is no return from the source, that it is the final barrier, but the Man of Steel doesn't give up and tries to fly out of it back to the universe. Highfather tells Superman that direction has no meaning in the source. It has no curves or bubbles or singularities. There is only the source. But still, Superman doesn't give up, flying faster and faster until he finally smashes through the source wall, overcoming this directionless world and returning to the universe once more. During Convergence, we see that God Brainiac and the entire event were essentially created by post-Crisis Brainiac's decision to travel beyond the universe to the edge of the source and beyond it. We see him travel throughout many iterations of DC, eventually returning in his new form that he compares to that of the Monitors. In a comic I have talked about before in my Story of Superman video, Superman the Man of Tomorrow issue 15, we see Neuron take Superman out beyond hell, leaving him stranded in the overvoid. We see Superman being eaten away by the vastness of the void, and it seems as if he is going to vanish entirely until he hears Lois calling him. Reinvigorated, he flies back from the overvoid, smashes through the infinite layers of hell he was previously trapped in, leaves the Godsphere, and flies all the way through the bleed and the entire multiverse to make it back to Earth. In Justice League 2018, we see a desperate Superman on his last legs attempting to escape the trap that he was placed in by the World Forger out in the 6th dimension. As a result, he overcomes his old limitations where it stated that he moves faster than he ever has, at a speed beyond physics, beyond imagination, a white-hot stylus skimming over the dark, redrawing what is possible. A journey that transcends the past, the present, and the future, and even our wildest imaginations. The World Forger had underestimated him, and now he sees something coming, something even he never imagined, something shaped a lot like a fist. The World Forger and his entire multiverse of possibility are shattered by this one monumentous moment. In Flash Forward, we would see Wally West in his attempt to cleanse a dark multiverse world of the very darkness it was made of and save the lives of his children, would push himself further and faster than anyone has ever moved before. Faster than light, faster than thought, faster than the very speed force he takes his powers from. The fastest father in the multiverse, and the fastest speed feat that I've seen performed by a single member of the Justice League so far. However, all of these speed feats are of course completely eclipsed by a few absolutely insane feats performed by none other than the Doom Patrol, which I'm sure we're all used to by this point. During Gerard Way's Doom Patrol, we see Casey Brink, a favourite of mine, a character with the power to always arrive early. She's so fast with this power that even Milkman Man is completely unable to touch her. Combined with Danny the Ambulance, they can travel great distances through time and space, arriving before they even left. But together they would perform their greatest speed feat when they crashed right through the walls of the Overvoid, the White Page, to land in Final Heaven and Retcon Corporation, a place entirely outside of the White Page, residing in the coffee stain on its surface. Not long after this, in Milk Wars, we would see the ultimate failsafe of Retcon Corporation activated, a device that would wipe the entire Overvoid clean, and only one character would actually succeed in avoiding this effect entirely. None other than the Elastic Woman Rita Farr. Trapped inside a cosmic passion play by Retcon, she begins to narrate her own story, using her stretching powers to stretch out beyond her world, becoming everything, and eventually stepping outside of the page and Retcon's reach entirely, avoiding this ultimate failsafe and reset before stepping back down into the comic. Anyway, that's it for the video. I hope you all enjoyed. I'm still working on an Etrigan video and a Parallax Hal Jordan video, so look forward to those, and otherwise, I will see you all in the next one.